All right, Bible readers, it is time for another quick Bible study. And today our reading is in Isaiah chapters 5 through 10. So let's just jump right in. Chapter 5, like I talked about yesterday, is a song using a vineyard as an analogy to the nation of Israel. Let me say that again. It's a song using a vineyard as an analogy to the nation of Israel. So the fruit of the vineyard is an analogy to the Jews, and the owner of the vineyard is an analogy to God. So instead of the vineyard producing standard grapes, it's producing wild grapes, is what chapter 5 says. And the owner of the vineyard, who's God, is asking the Jews, like literally Isaiah is speaking on behalf of God and asking the Jews what they think should be done. And ultimately, the owner of the vineyard, God, decides he's going to break down every part of the vineyard and just plow it under. And this is exactly what God does to Israel. And in fact, that's their current state today. It's plowed under, it's set aside until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. So let's look at that. Maybe you don't understand or you've never heard that phrase, until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. Paul, who is the minister of the dispensation of the grace of God, was given all the mysteries directly from Christ. And this is one of those portions of his writings where he explains one of those mysteries. So in Romans 11:25, it says, "For I would not, brethren, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery." So he's laying it out clearly. "Lest ye should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part is happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in." Well, where we are at in time right now, the fullness of the Gentiles has not come in yet. So this thing that people call the nation of Israel today is just a man-made convention. It's not of God. And in fact, there's quite a bit of detail that the Bible goes into, that when the nation of Israel is actually brought back by God, that these certain things are going to be in place and certain things are going to happen. Well, many of those things have not happened yet. So I assure you, this abomination we call Israel today is not Israel in the eyes of God. It's just a man-made thing. And of course, like most things, the church has completely fallen for it. And so be it. The church falls for a lot of things. So check this out. In Isaiah chapter 5, verse 20, it says, "Woe unto them that call evil good, and good evil, and put darkness for light, and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet, and sweet for bitter." So look around. Look around in our world today. There are so many things that even 25 years ago, certainly 50 or 100 years ago, people knew was evil. But today, people are embracing it and calling it good. I'm not even going to begin. If you can't figure that out, you need to do some more Bible reading. You need to get your mind wrapped around what God calls good and what God considers evil. Then when you look out into your culture, you'll understand how our culture is calling a lot of evil things good. All right, moving on. So even though that verse was squarely directed at the nation of Israel, the conclusion is, sure, sounds like what's happening in America today. It's what happens when cultures implode, when they just kind of come apart from within. There's a famous author, I'm not going to name his name. I don't want to get political, but he's pretty famous for having said that the enemy is within. It's not a new concept. I'm sure that Sun Tzu said it as well. But the idea is the enemy, there's enemies without for sure. But the greatest enemy to a nation are those on the inside. All right, moving on to chapter 6. Chapter 6 is a description of a vision that Isaiah had in the year that King Uzziah died. Okay, so it specifies the exact time that Isaiah had this vision. In this vision, the destruction of Israel is further detailed. So chapter 7 goes on, it says, and gives one of the clearest and earliest prophecies of the coming of Jesus Christ. And here it's called Emmanuel, spelled with an I. You've probably heard that name. So in Isaiah 7:14, it says, "Therefore the Lord himself shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son and shall call his name Emmanuel." And we know from this verse that I'm about to read that what Emmanuel means. You may already know the answer. Matthew 1:23 says, and you're going to notice the pattern from Isaiah 7:14, "Behold, a virgin shall be with child and shall bring forth a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel," which being interpreted is God with us. Okay, so Emmanuel says God with us. So in Isaiah 7:14 is this clear prophecy that Jesus Christ, or you might say God manifest in the flesh, is coming. So it was prophesied, and yet the Jews completely missed it. Chapter 9 contains one of the most abused verses in the Bible. So let's read it. Isaiah 9:6. You're going to recognize this if you've been around for any amount of time. "For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace." If you're reading this or you're looking at my notes, you'll realize all of these things are capitalized because they're all proper names for God. But you probably also recognize that this verse is often used around one of the most confusing or confused dates on the calendar, which is December 25th. Christians all around the world praise this day and make so much out of this day, but it lacks understanding. So, yes, in Isaiah 9, the verse is about Jesus. There's no question about that. But no, the Catholic Mass, otherwise known as Christ's Mass, has nothing to do with the truth. So Jesus was not born on December 25th any more than I was. Okay, there's no way. If it doesn't, it really, I mean, a cursory reading of the Bible and just some simple understanding of some things will tell you there's no way he was born at the end of December. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about that for now. We'll get into that a whole lot more later as that time approaches. So today's reading in chapter 10 concludes with more detail of Israel's destruction if they don't turn from their ways, which of course they don't. So have a good Bible read.